It's only been a few days since I talked about how the Twitter police and the Redditor types are angry at Shoe0nhead, and you're not going to believe this, guys, but a mere few days later, and they're not just still mad at her, which they are, they're mad at her for also an entirely different reason. To expand on that, a few days ago they were upset at her over her recent video where she criticized the left, and in particular over the recent Emaru situation where a viewer on Emaru's live stream asked her opinion on immigrations and customs enforcement, aka ICE, to which Emaru essentially said that she's not a political streamer, she has no opinion on it that she's going to share, and if you need her opinion on it, that you should go outside, you should touch grass, you should get off the internet. This, as mentioned, upset many leftists on social media, including even some of the most prominent leftist content creators. If you want more context into that, I covered that situation in a very brief 2-minute video, which I'll link in the description for you. But onto the current news, onto the even more recent anger that Shoe's getting. For example, now she's getting responses like this. Shoe, you are a slave to capital. When revolution comes, we should not be afraid to string you up by the bootstrings. Oh my gosh, how terrifying is that? The Twitter police are mad, as always. Wow, oh my gosh. What are they so angry about? Well, Shoe's tweet here that says...
Oh wow, that's...
Oh, okay, hold on a second. There we go. Clean, safe cities and social order is fascism, quote unquote. Let me run that by you one more time. Quote, clean, safe cities and social order is fascism. Every normal person ever then responds like this.
Oh wow, that sounds great. You're telling me that's fascism? Waiter, more fascism, please.
So the point of this little bit that Shoe's doing is that everything gets called fascism nowadays. And even in the context that you're about to see, wanting a clean, safe city is being labeled as a fascist want. Oh, you want a clean, safe city? You must be a fascist. You must be a literal Nazi. Excuse me if my mic just made a weird noise. I accidentally bumped it with my hand when I was like LARPing as the, Twitter cop right there. Anyways, she's not saying this for nothing. She's not saying this for nothing. There is specific context into the situation. And this is both terrifying that people actually are making takes like the ones you're about to see, and also just sickeningly disgusting as well. These people have no class. They are beyond trashy. So that's your warning for what we're about to read going down this rabbit hole. And I already read this, so, I've already suffered that, but now you get to enjoy suffering with me. Yay. And in Shoe0nhead, and, everyone that also read this. So here we go. It begins here. This tweet on February 18th, 2026 that reads, my husband was on a crowded train yesterday when a homeless woman got on, pulled down her pants, and did her business all over the train in front of everyone. He hasn't stopped talking about it for the past 24 hours. It is the single most traumatizing thing that's ever happened to him in New York City. Yeah, it's a disgusting story. I'm not even going to repeat that verbatim because I don't want to read that out loud. I don't even really want to read that at all, but, I'm making a video, so I'll do what I got to do, but cut the corners here and there, so to speak, because, I'm not repeating that verbatim. It gets even worse, though, because we have a response here from a self-proclaimed democratic socialist who says, I've been on the subway with homeless people that did their business on the subway, screamed all sorts of stuff. It was mildly uncomfortable, but truly didn't impact my day in any way. Maybe your husband needs to toughen up. Yeah, so that's disgusting. That's a completely classless, trashy person to such a great extent that they can have some nasty fool doing their business in the crowded subway car, next to them, standing next to them or whatever, and they're like, oh, that's fine. Yeah, no, it's not. And you're disgusting. And the other obvious point, which is it's also just unsanitary. Like, what's wrong with you? Oh, that's fine. Let them do that in the subway. Actually, crazy take. But the Democratic Socialist OP wasn't done there. They said, I totally understand nobody wants that in their subway car, but if that's the most traumatizing thing that ever happens to you in the city, you should consider yourself very lucky. And the responses are filled with people pointing out that that doesn't help New York City. That makes it sound even worse. It's like, oh, that disgusting, horrible thing isn't a big deal compared to everything else that we have going on here, so don't make a big deal out of it. Yeah, that's not helping your case, dude. Not at all. And then we had a socialist responding to the democratic socialist. And they say, agree that this probably isn't the single most traumatizing thing someone could see in a city, but it's still not normal or okay. And the left shouldn't act like it is. We all deserve to live in functioning cities where public displays of antisocial behavior are not tolerated. That takes us to this response. And again, keep in mind, this is all leading up to the Shoe0nhead thing that I started with. All right. So we have this response. Unlike the last two, this person doesn't have their political affiliation in their bio, and I'm not going to go scrolling through their feed to assume like where they might stand, but I'm pointing that out because I mentioned the other two. Anyways, they say, having a baby really changed my mind about this stuff on, well, people experiencing episodes on public transit. I went from whatever, look the other way, when I was just a sturdy adult man on my own, to being like, screw this guy, he's going to eliminate my baby strapped to my chest. And that finally takes us here. This is the tweet that Shoe0nhead responded to. So this person, who also doesn't have their political affiliation in their bio this time, but you could probably presume where they might stand based off this post, responds to the other person that we just read, that guy, Alexander, and they say, quote, having a baby made me fascist, unquote. So, misrepresenting and strawmanning what the guy actually said. They go on to add, is a real phenomenon. That's why we must abolish the nuclear family. Homeless people have children too. Homeless people are sometimes children. And instead of thinking of them as human, you're falling into racist and classist anxieties. There's obviously so much insanity to that take. It's hard to believe people like that unironically make posts like that. They honestly have like a mental framework like that where they're justifying such twisted behavior and turning things into, oh, that reasonable desire to be safe and have cleanliness, that's fascism. Crazy thing to say, right? The other thing's also crazy. Acting like all homeless people are just innocent and don't do anything wrong. I was born in Los Angeles. I still live here. One day I'll probably move somewhere else, but for now I'm still in LA. And my point is this. I've dealt with homeless people essentially my whole life. And some of them are cool. Some of them are trying to improve their situation, to not be homeless, to get a job, to give back to people, things like that. But some of them really aren't. And unfortunately, I have a perfect example of this. I've got a few stories that would probably be a good example of this, but I'm going to tell you one that's probably the best. And it goes back to when I was 17. And I was finishing up high school, and I had a specific requirement because I was doing it in, let's just say, an abnormal way, so to speak. That requirement was community service. Now, I forget how much it was, maybe 10, 20 hours or something. And so I saw this church that was doing a event on Friday nights to feed homeless people, free dinner sort of thing. And I called them up, asked if I could volunteer there, and they brought me on as security. Now, back then, I had not yet obtained my S-tier sleeper build like I have now. For example, now I weigh like 150, and I can deadlift almost 400 pounds. If you guys have seen like my Twitter account or my community tab post, on top of like the extensive Muay Thai training and other martial arts I do and all that, humble brag aside. My point is, when I was 17, I wasn't anywhere near this level yet. I was about 5'10", 110 pounds. Super skinny 17-year-old. Nevertheless, they bring me on as security. Now, most of the time it went fine. I didn't have to do anything. I was basically standing around talking to homeless people and volunteers, other volunteers that were like making the food and stuff. It was fine. But there was one major incident that occurred that thankfully didn't end nearly as badly as it could have. And it goes like this. One of the homeless people there brought his kid. The kid's probably between like 9 and 11 years old. And most of the people at this point in time for the story are inside the main building of the church eating the food. It was still in the middle of dinner. But some people were outside, maybe like a dozen people outside. Some of the homeless people went out there, get some fresh air or whatever. And this kid is outside too. I'm also outside. And I notice this other homeless person who's acting kind of crazy. I think maybe he was drunk or something. I don't know. And he starts coming up to the kid. Not right up to him, but maybe 5 to 7 feet away. So there is a bit of distance between them, but he's like staring, he's like mad dogging the kid, muttering something incoherently, but clearly with a very negative vibe. And the kid's just like looking in confusion, not saying anything at all. He's just like looking at the homeless dude in confusion. And then the homeless dude pulls out a knife. And I'm there, again, technically as security, but I'm still just a 17-year-old myself. And I'm like, ain't no way this dude just pulled a knife out and is mad dogging this kid and like muttering stuff. I'm like, ain't no way this guy's about to try to stab the kid. And I have to get between them. Now, I did. I got between them. And even if I wasn't security, I probably would have done that just out of human decency. Like, you can't let some homeless dude do anything to a kid like that in any way, like absolutely not. So I probably would have done the same thing even if I wasn't security. But it's crazy because there were other adults there. There was like other people there seeing what was happening. I think it was mostly other homeless people, but there may have been a few volunteers there as well. Most of the volunteers and homeless people, again, were still inside though, but a handful or so, around a dozen or so, were outside. And they're watching this unfold, and I'm the only one actually getting between them. And I wasn't really saying anything myself. I was just standing in between, really watching this homeless dude to see if he was about to start like lunging for the kid or something. This goes on for what feels like 3 to 5 minutes. Maybe it was less, and like it felt longer because it was such a uncomfortable, I don't want to say frightening experience. It wasn't like frightening in that sense. It was more so just like danger, right? You just feel like this is dangerous, like heightened senses, taking this 100% seriously. This feels like a very dangerous moment for myself and for that kid, and really for anyone around there too, even though no one else was doing anything about this, which I'm actually a little upset about to this day. Grown adults there, no one's doing anything. It's up to me, the 17-year-old, to protect this like 9-year-old. Crazy, to be quite frank. Thankfully, thank God, this homeless man eventually stopped. He puts the knife away and like walks away. And you might be wondering, where was that kid's dad during all of this? I have no idea. I wonder the same thing. If I had to take a guess, he might have still been eating inside the main building and the kid was outside. Most of the time that kid was wandering around away from his dad. So yeah, I don't know. My point is, going back to this tweet where this person's trying to make it sound like homeless people are all just innocent and it's like racist or classist or fascist to be nervous around homeless people. That's ridiculous. It depends on the person. Again, some of them are nice. Some of them are trying to improve things, and they're actually working to get themselves out of that situation. But some of them are dangerous, and you would be a fool to think otherwise. By the way, can you guys just imagine if I actually get Twitter cops mad at me for this video, and they say something like, Hero, hey, your example shows that they're not dangerous. He didn't actually stab the kid in your story, so it's fine. You already know that they would say something like that. And so that finally takes us back to Shoe0nhead. This is the context of what she was responding to. Once again, that Danny person. I've had this tweet on screen a few times now. I'm sure you're familiar with it. But yeah, that's what she was responding to when she once again said, quote, clean, safe cities and social order is fascism, unquote. Every normal person ever saying,
Oh, wow, that sounds great. You're telling me that's fascism? Waiter, more fascism, please.
So yeah, that's all the context, and that's the video. This was a wild one, man. This was just all kinds of craziness, but I hope you enjoyed the video nevertheless. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Have a lovely rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next one.